James Wong Howe was a legendary Hollywood cameraman, best known for his low-key, black-and-white photography, seen here in 1957's corrosive masterpiece, Sweet Smell of Success, starring Burt Lancaster and Tony Curtis.
I love this dirty town.
He said that he lit Lancaster so that his chiseled features stood out, and his steel-rimmed eyeglasses gave him a sort of owlish look, like a bird that hunts at night.
Match me, Sidney.
Wong Howe, who went by Jimmy, wasn't just going for a moody film noir style for style's sake. He wanted camera placement and lighting to be determined by the story and its characters. Writers and actors loved him. From 1923 to 1974, the Chinese-born Wong Howe photographed over 130 feature films. He earned 10 Academy Award nominations and won twice, and in his own estimation, he deserved to win more, including for films not even nominated. Many articles about him have been published since his death in 1976, and there's been one odd element that has been included by writers over and over, even in his obituary: a story about roller skates. It's here, and here, and here, and here. The origin of all these references is in the many interviews that Jimmy gave over the years in which he told and retold the story. It was one of his party pieces. The gist of it is this: Jimmy was hired 3 days before shooting began on the 1947 boxing drama Body and Soul, starring John Garfield and directed by Robert Rossen. As with many boxing movies, the plot culminates in an intense, high-stakes prize fight. Here's one version of Jimmy's story. I felt that to capture the feeling of the ring, to get the excitement and energy, I needed to be in the ring and participate in the action. So in order to move around with the fighters, I put on a pair of roller skates and had a grip push me around to follow the actors, using me like a dolly with a handheld camera. Body and Soul ended up becoming a popular and critical success. Garfield was nominated for a Best Actor Academy Award. 33 years later, Martin Scorsese drew inspiration from it while planning Raging Bull. Richard Schickel describes how Scorsese kept watching different classic boxing movies, looking for guidance in how to film the prize fights. But Scorsese was disappointed to find that the assorted fight scenes were all photographed from outside the ring. He found one exception: Body and Soul. You can see the standard outside-of-the-ring practice Scorsese was referring to in Golden Boy, the 1939 adaptation of Clifford Odets' play. Throughout the movie's climactic boxing match, the camera stays behind the ropes. There are mostly long shots, medium shots, keeping us at a distance. When we get close-ups, they're of the spectators rather than the fighters. But when Scorsese was disappointed that no movie besides Body and Soul had filmed a boxing match inside the ring, he must not have screened the first movie that Jimmy shot with Garfield, They Made Me a Criminal, a 1939 crime drama made while Jimmy and Garfield were both still under contract with Warner Brothers. A behind-the-scenes photograph from They Made Me a Criminal is often found online, but you wouldn't know it because it's usually misidentified as being from Body and Soul, even on the American Society of Cinematographers website. The tip-off is the man behind the camera. Jimmy seems to be directing Garfield, but looking through the viewfinder is the movie's director, Busby Berkeley. Yes, that Busby Berkeley. Berkeley was clearly a person with a highly visual imagination, and in this movie, he and James Wong Howe give the fight scenes a striking immediacy, often placing the camera inside the ring, and emphasizing the boxers' subjective experience through close-ups of their faces and of their blows. But there's a crucial difference between the fight scenes in They Made Me a Criminal and the ones in Body and Soul. The camera seen in the still is the 135-pound Mitchell BNC, the dominant Hollywood camera for decades. That domination is celebrated in a promotional shot of Jimmy and some of Hollywood's greatest directors of photography, all standing behind BNCs. The BNC was a great camera, but it was unwieldy. Even on a dolly, it couldn't be nimble, trying to follow boxers around at close quarters. Jimmy wanted something different for Body and Soul. He'd been a flyweight boxer himself as a teenager, and he wanted viewers to feel what it was like to be in the ring. His solution was already predicted in an article he wrote 3 years earlier for American Cinematographer, The Documentary Technique in Hollywood. Written 2 years into America's involvement in World War II, the article asserts that war-related documentaries and newsreels from around the world were teaching Americans what war really looks like. Wong Howe writes that in comparison to the documentaries, the Hollywood concept is artificial and therefore unbelievable. The article becomes a manifesto for realism in storytelling, and he champions small, handheld cameras like the compact 35mm Bell & Howell Eyemo, a camera that you had to wind up like a toy. The Eyemo was being used almost exclusively by the military, but Jimmy was able to use one to shoot parts of Howard Hawks' war movie Air Force in late 1942. In Jimmy's words, his use of the Eyemo in the Hawks film gave the audience a sense of real participation, an effect difficult, even impossible to get with a big camera. He didn't mention the BNC by name, but that's what he meant. In Body and Soul's climactic prize fight, a corrupt promoter has pressured Garfield to throw the fight, to lose in a decision, and he goes along with it for the money. The first 12 rounds are summarized in a montage of pulled punches and booing crowds, almost entirely shot with the Mitchell BNC. But with round 13, Garfield realizes he's being double-crossed and set up for a knockout. Jimmy starts using more and more handheld shots as the fight intensifies. The BNC shots are mostly used for reactions and between rounds, and are easily identified by their smoothness and sharp focus, as well as by the polished three-point lighting on the actors. The handheld Eyemo shots are reserved for the fighters. The shots have a jittery quality due to the wind-up mechanism. They often lose focus and are unstable, emphasizing abrupt, violent movement. Going in close for punches, even dropping to the canvas with Garfield, or tilting up to show the harsh lights. Jimmy's use of handheld documentary technique gave that sense of real participation he had written about 3 years before. It was something new, not just to be innovative, but to serve the story, to make us feel as though we were going through what the fighters were going through. But what about the roller skates? The existing behind-the-scenes stills clearly show Jimmy on skates, crouching close to the ground, looking up from a low angle, either stationary or as he's being pushed. He also tried using a furniture dolly at one point. If you've seen the photos and heard the stories, you might watch the final fight scenes specifically looking for those shots. I know I did. But after watching and re-watching the scene, cataloging all 125 or so shots in the final 6 minutes of the fight, I could not find even one shot that seems to have been taken by someone on roller skates. There are many handheld shots using the Eyemo, about 56 by my count, but little more than half of those are taken from outside the ring, and the ones inside the ring tend to be shot at eye level and don't use dollying, meaning that the handheld shots inside the ring seem to have been taken by a person standing up, with both feet on the ground. When a dolly shot is used in the ring, it's clearly taken with a BNC on a camera boom. Of course, it's certainly possible that some roller skate shots made it into the completed film, but roller skates wouldn't have been needed to create them. So what happened? My guess is that the roller skate shots were just too jerky and distracting, especially for 1947 audiences. Almost 30 years later, the movie's editor, Robert Parrish, wrote that it was Jimmy who helped him comb through over 3 hours of handheld footage to find a usable 2 minutes. Jimmy not only knew that Parrish didn't use the roller skate shots, he even helped Parrish make the choices of what to cut out. So why did Jimmy continue talking about the skates for the rest of his life? For one, I think it was because he actually did wear skates in the ring, with pictures to prove it, and he knew that it made a good story. It was also a story with a great visual. The visual element serves his story, which is exactly what he sought to do in his work. But I also think that the roller skate story had meaning for him as an assertion of his value. He was telling us that he was a true innovator, an ever-inventive creative force worthy of admiration. He had certainly been devalued in his life. He worked his way up in Hollywood from sweeping floors at age 18 to becoming one of the world's best-known and best-paid directors of photography while in his 30s. And yet he would still get into fistfights with crew members who made racial slurs and openly disrespected him. He was even fired from a movie because a white crew refused to take orders from someone they called the Chinaman. He was barred from becoming a U.S. citizen by the Chinese Exclusion Act, which was only repealed in 1943, 1 year after Jimmy had photographed Yankee Doodle Dandy. And anti-miscegenation laws made it illegal for him to marry the woman he loved because he was Asian and she was white. Jimmy was known in the industry as a frustrated director. He knew everyone else's job. And if he knew that a director was inexperienced or if he found them to be indecisive, he did his best to move in and take over, making choices on set design, costumes, the direction of actors, even the application of makeup. In the end, the roller skate story might not have been a completely accurate reflection of how the movie turned out, but it points us toward a very real innovation, using a handheld camera in the service of storytelling. Many of Jimmy's favorite stories about himself, whether embellished or not, express the reality of his creative restlessness. Stories like the one about how he photographed a silent movie star through a piece of black velvet to reveal her eyes. Or the one about using wide-angle lenses and stop-down apertures to create extreme depth of focus 10 years before Citizen Kane. Or the one about using flares to light an aircraft landing in a remote jungle when the needed equipment had been left behind. Or the one about putting on a swimsuit and getting into a public pool to capture a realistic play of light off the water and onto the actors' faces. Or the one about removing clouds from the North Texas sky to make us feel the severity of the character's emotional landscape. Taken together, these stories tell us that James Wong Howe was an artist who spent more than half a century continually revitalizing the art of film. And he was worthy of admiration.